What? Google is releasing 2 Nexus phones this year? Yeah! We pretty much know everything about the Nexus 6P and Nexus 5X already, so let's go ahead and do a comparison of the 2 latest Google flagship smartphones. The Nexus 6P ships with a 5.7-inch 1440p screen, while the Nexus 5X comes with a 5.2-inch 1080p screen. The Nexus 6P is definitely a phablet, a large smartphone, while the Nexus 5X is somewhat smaller, regular-sized smartphone. Depending on your preferred size, you may want the Nexus 6P or the Nexus 5X. Also, the Nexus 6P screen is AMOLED screen with Gorilla Glass 4, while the Nexus 5X screen is an IPS LCD with Gorilla Glass 3. If you absolutely need the best screen, the choice here is obvious. Second, Nexus 6P shipped with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 processor, while the Nexus 5X with the 808 processor. The 810 processor may be slightly faster for graphics processing, but I would say in my experience, performance differences aren't too huge or almost negligible. You wouldn't go wrong with either processor. But the Nexus 6P does have 3 gigs of RAM, while the 5X only has 2 gigs of RAM. If you play a lot of games, the Nexus 6P may be a better choice in my opinion. Expert, super high on Android. Third, both phones ships with the same 12.3 megapixel camera with 1.55 micrometer sensor and should give you the best low light shots Nexus phones have ever produced. So both phones have the same camera. You can't go wrong with either of them. For front camera though, the Nexus 6P has an 8 megapixel camera, the 5X has a 5 megapixel front camera. Fourth, storage option for the 6P starts at 32 gigabytes, while the 5X has 16 or 32 gigabyte option. If you need larger than 32 gigabyte storage, you may be better off with the larger Nexus 6P, which also has an option for 64 and 128 gigabytes. Now, both Nexus phones do not have a micro SD card slot, so you may want to consider these storage options before you buy the phones. Alright, fifth, probably the most important one, the battery. The Nexus 6P comes with a whopping 3,450 milliamp hour battery, while the 5X just has 2,700 milliamp hour. If you want the phone with the longer battery, the Nexus 6P is definitely the right choice. Now, the pricing for the Nexus 5X starts at $379.99 with the 16 gigabyte model, while the Nexus 6P starts at $499.99 with the 32 gigabyte model. Overall, the Nexus 6P is definitely the more premium device to go for if you need the 1440p screen, larger storage, bigger battery. I mean, it is just better, but if you don't like the bigger phone, you want a small form factor, the Nexus 5X is still certainly a bargain, although I think the Moto X Pure at $399 is still a better deal. You get a 1440p screen. Lastly but not least, there are many features that both phones share. They both have a fingerprint sensor that's located on the back of the phone. They also feature the latest Android 6.0 Marshmallow fresh out of the oven. You won't find a better Android operating system since this is the latest. Alright, based on specs, the Nexus 6P seems like one of the best phablets of the year 2015, while the 5X seems like a watered down version that may satisfy for those of you who want a pure Google device at the lowest cost. I should have a full comparison when I get hands-on on both of these bad boys, but in the meanwhile, this should give you a good idea of what to expect from the Nexus 6P or the 5X. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up for me if you enjoyed this quick comparison, and as always, stay on Android. What do you think? Nexus 6P or the 5X?